Chapter 5. The Prisoner of Zenda. I wasn't sorry to say goodbye to my brother and his soldier friends, although I was sad to say goodbye to the princess. Should I tell her the truth? Was I wrong to pretend to be the king? I didn't know. Rodolphe, be careful, won't you? The princess said. Be careful of what? I asked. I can't say, but think what your life means to the people of Ruritania, she said. I remembered what Rose had said about my brother Robert back in England. He realizes his position in society brings with it responsibilities. I had always wanted to have a quiet life, but I suddenly realized how many responsibilities I now had here in Ruritania. How on earth had I got myself into such a situation? Over the next few weeks, I'm pleased to say that no one seemed to notice I wasn't the real king of Ruritania, because I looked so like the king. It was much easier for me to pretend to be him than to pretend to me by neighbor at home. For example, I learned a lot about how a country is run, but I made mistakes, sometimes big ones. I became very good at pretending I had forgotten rules or people that I had met, and I hoped my growing popularity with the people of Ruritania would help them to forgive my occasional bad decisions. One day, Zapt came into my room. Here is a letter for you, he said. From the writing, I think it's from a woman. I also have some important news. What is that? I asked. We now know that the king is at the castle of Zenda, he said. How do you know this? We asked where the rest of the 6 men were, and found out that they are all there at the castle. Lindgren, Krafstein, and young Robert Hanzo, the 3 biggest criminals in Ruritania. Do you think the king is definitely there? I asked. Almost certainly. The 3 men are always at the castle, and people say the drawbridge is nearly always kept up. That's not normal. No one goes into the building without the permission of Robert or Michael. Then I must go to Zenda, I said. That wouldn't be a good idea. If not today, then soon. I must go there. You will probably stay there forever if you do, said Zapt. I was silent, and I could see that Zapt was studying my face. What's worrying you, Rosendal? He asked. Tell me, Zapt. Why is it wherever I go in the capital, I'm followed by 6 people? Because I've ordered them to follow you. But why? It would be very useful for Michael if you disappeared. And if you disappear, the game is over. I don't need such help, I protested. I can look after myself. The Gatud, Bersenin, and Dietrich are in Sal, and any one of them could catch you easily, he said, as if I were a child. So, what is that letter? Said Zapt, pointing at the one he had given me. I opened it and read it aloud. If the king wants to know something important, please do what I ask. At the end of the new venue, there is a house and a large garden. There is a wall around the garden with a gate at the back. At midnight tonight, go through the gate, where you will see a statue of a horse. Turn right and walk 20 meters. There, you will find 6 steps up to a summer house. Go into this summer house and someone will tell you something very important about your life. But you must be alone. If you don't come, your life will be in danger. I'm a loyal friend to you. Don't show this letter to anyone, or it will put a woman in great danger. Michael will punish me. Yes, and Michael can also write a very good letter. Said Zapt. I thought the same. Truly, Michael had written this letter to trap me. I was about to throw the letter in the bin when I saw that there was more writing on the other side. If you don't believe me, ask Colonel Zapt. What? Said the Colonel. So I read on. Ask him what woman has been a guest of the Duke. Ask if her name begins with A. It must be Antoinette de Maupin, I cried. How do you know? Asked Zapt, and I told him all I knew about the woman. I've heard that she came to Ruthenia with her servants as a guest of Michael, Zapt said. People say she had a great argument with Michael, and now she's staying somewhere in Estrasau. So, she could be useful to us, I suggested. Perhaps. She would be useful if she had information about Michael. However, I believe that Michael wrote that letter, said Zapt. So do I. But I'm not certain, I said. I'll go to the house tonight. No, you mustn't, said Zapt. Let me go instead. You can come too, but you must wait outside the gate when I go in alone. I don't believe this woman, and you are mad to go, said Zapt. I believe this woman, and I'll go, I said. Either I go to the house or I go back to England. We don't have much time. Every day we leave the king imprisoned, there is more danger. We must move quickly, I said. Zapt was beginning to know when he could tell me what to do and when he couldn't. So, reluctantly, he agreed with me. At 11:30 that night, we got on our horses and soon arrived outside the gate to the house, carrying our guns. It was a very dark night. I'll wait for you here outside the gate, said Zapt. Good luck. I opened the gate and I found myself in a leafy garden. I saw the city of the horse and walked across the garden in my hand, with the gun in my hand. I followed the directions given in the letter, and although it was dark, I soon arrived at the summer house. When I went inside, I heard a woman's voice. Shut the door, the woman whispered. I did as she asked, and then looked around the room, which was lit by a small candle. It was almost empty, except for a small iron table and 2 chairs. In the soft light, I could just see Antoinette in front of me and her servant behind. We have a little time, Antoinette said. Listen, I know who you are, and I know you aren't the king. You are Mr. Rosendal. I wrote that letter to you at the Duke's orders. In 20 minutes, 3 men will be here to kill you. Why kill them? I suppose they are 3 of the Duke's 6 men. Yes, you must leave here before they arrive, so listen carefully. The plan is to kill you and to take your body into the old town. It will be found and Michael will arrest Colonel Zapt and Captain Fritz von Tallenheim for murdering you. Then a messenger will be sent to Zenda and the real king will be murdered too. The Duke will then become king. Do you understand? Oh yes, I understand. It's a clever plan. But why are you helping me? I don't like to see people being killed. Now go, but remember, you are never safe in this city. You have guards following you, don't you? Well, Michael's men are following them. If you are alone, then you will die. Now, go quietly this way, past the summer house, for about 100 meters. There, you will find a ladder against the wall. Climb it and run as fast as you can. And what will you do? I also have a game to play. I'll tell the Duke's men that you never came. If the Duke doesn't find out what I have done, we may meet again. Thank you. You have helped the king tonight, I said. But before I go, tell me something. Do you know where he is in the castle? Yes, I do know. Inside the castle there is a door on the right, and behind that. But listen, they are here. It's too late for you to escape. I looked through a gap in the summer house door and saw 3 men standing outside. Then I heard a voice which spoke in English. Are you in there, Mr. Rosendal? I didn't answer. We want to make you an offer, the voice said. Will you let us in? Don't trust him, said Antoinette quietly. Stand outside and talk, I called. I won't let you in. That's a good idea, said the voice, who I thought must be Ditchard. Is that Mr. Ditchard? I asked. Our names aren't important. We can offer you a safe journey to the border and 50,000 English pounds. He continued. That sounds a generous offer, I said, but of course I didn't trust them at all. Give me a minute to think. Then I told Antoinette and her servant to stand close to the wall, away from the door. What are we going to do? Antoinette asked. You will see. I picked up the iron table and held it by the legs so it was in front of me. Then I said, Gentlemen, I'd like to accept your kind offer. Perhaps you can open the door for me. Why don't you open the door yourself? said Ditchard. Very well, but it opens our words, I explained. You will need to step back or the door will hit you. I pretended to try and open the door and called out, I can't open it. Then I'll open it, called Ditchard. As Ditchard was walking up to the door, I moved quietly to the back of the summer house. It took him a few seconds to open the door, but as soon as he did, I ran at him as fast as I could, holding the table in front of me. There was a terrible noise, and all 3 men fired their guns at once, but I was protected by the tabletop. The men were all standing on the steps up to the summer house, so as I ran out, the tabletop hit them and they all fell down the steps. Before I knew what was happening, I too was falling down the steps. But as I was on top of the men, I managed to get up fastest and ran away, firing my gun behind me. There were angry shouts and more shots. I remembered what Antoinette had said about the ladder, and soon found it and climbed over the wall in seconds. Running along the outside of the wall, I heard more shots but realized they were being fired by Zopt, who was trying to get into the gate. Zopt, it's me, let's go, I shouted. You're safe, he cried in surprise. I have a fine story to tell you about a table, I told him, as we jumped on our horses and rode quickly back to the palace. The next day, Zopt read me the latest report from the chief of police. Some interesting things have been happening this morning, said Zopt. The police report said that the Duke of Strelsau left the capital by the road to Zenda. An hour later, he was followed by Dugatit, Persnin and Ditchard, who had a bandage around his arm. I was pleased that my shot the night before had been a good one. Finally, listen to this. The people of the capital aren't happy that the king has yet to marry the princess. Some people say that if they don't marry soon, it would be better if the princess married the Duke of Strelsau. However, the king is having a ball tonight for the princess. I don't know anything about a ball, I said. Oh, it has all been prepared by me, said Fred's. Listen, said Zopt. You must ask the princess to marry you tonight. I can't do that. It wouldn't be fair to the princess. That evening, the ball was a great success. After we had eaten, I sat with the princess and some of my other guests in a small room by the palace gardens. The servant brought us coffee and we had time to talk. You have been king for a few weeks now, said the princess. Everyone says you have done a very good job. I'm very pleased for you. You know, someone once said to me, a person who has a position in society has responsibilities. Recently, I've realized how true this is. Haven't you always thought that? Asked the princess. No, when I was younger, I didn't think I needed to worry about society. I thought that was someone else's job. The princess looked very surprised. But you always knew that you would become king. How could you think that was someone else's job? Once again, I had made a mistake in what I said. But suddenly, instead of saying something to cover up my mistake, I wanted to tell the princess the truth. She was kind and clever, and she was going to marry the king. She should know what had happened to her future husband, and she should know all about my game. I decided I had to tell her everything. Flavia, I said quietly, so none of the other guests could hear. There is something you should know. I'm not really... But I never finished the words I wanted to say, because at that moment we heard footsteps in the garden outside the room. I looked up and jumped with fright, because a face suddenly appeared at the French window. I relaxed when I saw that the person looking in on us was Zabt. I apologize, but there is someone who wants to see you, sir, he said to me, but I could tell from his eyes that it was angry. How long had he been listening to my conversation with the princess? Had he heard that I was about to tell her the truth about who I really was? We returned to the ball, where the princess went quickly away with her servants, and I was welcomed by other important people at the ball. I realized then that my game had gone too far to go back. I couldn't tell anyone who I really was, or they could think I was mad. Zabt had stopped me from saying too much to the princess, and Zabt's plan really was working. The next morning, Zabt and I sat in my room, thinking about what to do next. Do you realize, Zabt, that everyone really thinks I'm the king, even the princess? I could even arrange for the duke and the real king to be killed. This is all true, said Zabt. So, will you do such a thing? Of course not. I shouldn't be here, pretending to be anything. It's not fair for the people of Ruritania, and it's not fair for the princess either. We can't wait any longer, I said. We must go to Zenda and rescue the king. You're a good man, said Zabt. First, however, I needed to see Princess Flavia again. If I couldn't tell her the truth, I could at last warn her the situation in the Ruritania wasn't as good as she believed it to be. I visited her in her palace later that day, and she asked her servants to bring me some coffee. Then she told me that she had received 2 letters. One was from Michael, who had invited her to visit Zenda. Then she showed me the other letter. I don't know who this one is from, she said. I immediately knew who it was from. The writing was the same as the letter I had received. It was from Antoinette de Maupin, and it read, You don't know me, but I don't want you to fall into the power of the Duke. Don't accept an invitation from him, and don't go anywhere without many guards. Show this letter, if you can, to the leader of Ruritania. Why does it say the leader and not the king? She asked. You must do as the letter says, I said, not answering her questions. I'll order guards to watch you. Do you know who sent this? She asked. A friend of mine. Today you must say you are ill, so you can't go to Zenda. So, you don't mind making Michael angry? She asked. I don't mind anything if you are safe, I said. I had an idea about who would be the best guard for Princess Flavia, and I immediately visited Marshal Strauchan's who I knew I could trust. I asked him to guard the princess and not to allow any of the Duke's men to visit her. I told him I was worried about the Duke's impatience, and he didn't look surprised. I'm leaving Strelsau for a few days. Every evening, I'll send you a message. If you don't get a message for 3 days, you have the authority to say that you are now the head of Strelsau. You must then ask the Duke to allow you to see the king. If he doesn't allow you to see the king in 24 hours, you must say that the king is dead. Then you must tell the police of Ruritania, you must tell the people of Ruritania who their new ruler will be. You do know who that will be. Princess Flavia, of course, he answered. The end of chapter 5.